Hey, welcome back everyone. So today we're going to talk about peppers. We have grown jalapenos for years. My wife and I both love spicy food. We really enjoy eating jalapenos. One of the things that we do regularly is once a week we go to the local VFW because they have a hamburger night on Wednesdays and we like to support our local VFW. So we go there and we have dinner, and every week on Wednesday when I get a hamburger I get pickled jalapenos on that. We also eat lots and lots of other spicy foods, whatever we can make, right? Like we like Korean food with a lot of spicy pepper in it, and many other spicy dishes. Well, with that being said, we've been growing peppers for a long time. When we lived in Florida, I was pretty successful at growing a yellow variety, an open pollinated variety of yellow pepper. I believe it's from the University of New Mexico, called like lemon jalapenos or something like that. And they grew really well, but they grew really small peppers, like little, like never bigger than this pretty much. But we grew a lot of them. We would get a fairly good crop every year. And those peppers would actually overwinter in Florida and come back the next spring. So that was nice. But since living here, we've tried multiple varieties of open pollinated peppers, your heirloom varieties. We buy them from Baker Creek. I've bought them from a couple of other seed companies. And just haven't really had much luck. We've grown a lot of leaves, we've grown a lot of plants, but we've done very little in the way of pepper production. Most of the time it's kind of cool here. We get pretty big heat waves where it gets in the 90s, but that only lasts a couple days and then we're back down in the 60s and 70s. And the peppers just don't seem to do well with that. It also rains a lot here, so I think the coolness and the rain kind of just gives them trouble. This year, during the winter, I thought, I'm going to try some non-heirloom varieties, non-open pollinated. So I'm going to go with some hybrid varieties. I've never grown any hybrid peppers before, mostly just because I kind of like to save the seeds. And when you do a hybrid variety pepper, you can't save the seeds. So I did that, and I've got to say I am floored with the production of these pepper plants. I don't know what it is. We haven't had a specifically warm or wet or anything. It's just been a regular season. A little bit of rain here and there, but nothing terrible. And it's been a little warm, but not like, in the 90s and hundreds or anything. It's been in the 80s, so it's been nice. But we have had long stretches of cool weather and rain, and I thought that would stunt the peppers. But as you can see from this pile in front of me, this is our first harvest of these peppers. We have multiple varieties in here. I'll link the varieties down in the description below, but I bought these from Johnny's Seeds this year, and they have just produced amazingly well. These peppers are all 3-4 inches long, some of them longer. Like this one here is pretty big. That's a nice big pepper. They're all nice and fat and round. The skin is pretty good on them. We've tried a couple of these yellow ones already. They taste really good. A little bit of spice, not super, super hot, but also not super mild. They have a good flavor. I don't remember all the specific variety names. Like this one's got a little bit of wrinkling on it. I forget what that's called on a jalapeno. That's actually kind of normal for them to happen sometimes when they undergo some stress. But the pepper still tastes great, and this doesn't affect the taste at all. Some people actually prefer to have their jalapenos with these little lines on them, some other peppers too. But for us, it doesn't matter. Some of them are also nice and smooth and clear. And then, like I said, we have multiple varieties. So we've got some of these yellow varieties. This is just a yellow jalapeno. They all grow yellow. These ones are green. Some of them are more pointy than others. So you can see, like, this is a traditional kind of rounded at the tip jalapeno plant. And then this one's a little longer, a little elongated, and has a point at the tip. Just different varieties. I'll link all those varieties in the description below, but I really do have to say I am quite amazed at the output of these peppers. I've only picked maybe half of what's on the plants. I picked all the larger peppers because peppers are one of those things where you can pick them very small and they taste pretty much the same. So like I accidentally picked this one. I'll still use it. It'll still taste good. It didn't grow to its full size, right? So you can eat peppers when they're small. That goes for bell peppers and hot peppers and everything else. Now the flavor profiles can change, of course. If they change to red as they get older, they may get sweeter. Like the Aardvarski, I think is the name. I forget how to pronounce that name, but it's a Hungarian sweet pepper or Macedonian sweet pepper that we grow. That one definitely gets sweeter when it turns red, but you can totally eat it when it's green. It's okay to eat it when it's green. Anyway, we're going to today pickle these. So I really enjoy pickled jalapenos. I feel like they're great on things like tacos. They're great on hamburgers, hot dogs, you know, pretty much anything that you could possibly put a pickle on, you can put a pickled jalapeno on. And they just taste delicious. Specifically tacos, I really like pickled jalapenos on tacos. They give a little bit of acidity and they give a little bit of a pop of heat. It's pretty nice. But one thing that we tend to really enjoy is candied pickled jalapenos. So you'll hear people call them cowboy candy or candied jalapenos. Cowboy candy is a pretty common term for them though. Basically what you do is you pickle these in a sweet sauce. So they go into a pickling sauce, but it's also got sugar in it. And they just taste amazing. I can't explain it any other way. So we've got 4 pounds here of these peppers that I picked this morning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gloves on and I'm going to slice them into rings. Once we have them in rings, we'll then prepare to make the pickling sauce. We'll make the pickling sauce, we'll put the peppers into the pickling sauce, and then we'll put these in a hot water bath so that they can be stored. That's another nice thing about the cowboy candy and pickled peppers in general. There's 2 ways that you can make them. There's refrigerator pickles, and then there's canned pickles, right? So the canned pickles, they take a little longer to make, they cook a little longer, and sometimes they'll get a little softer. They won't have as much crunch as a refrigerator pickle will. But the canned pickles can sit on the shelf for a year, 2 years, right? They are shelf stable, whereas the refrigerator pickles, exactly as the name implies, the pickles have to go in the refrigerator. They're not shelf stable, and they usually last a month to 2 months, which is still pretty good. If you're eating a lot of these, you know, they'll be ready to eat pretty much right away, and you know, within a day or two, and they'll stay in the fridge. You know, to eat 4 pounds would take us a little while, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some on the shelf. But in the future, we may make some refrigerator ones just because they're available and it's quick. Same thing with onions. People make pickled onions that way. Pickled onions on tacos, once again, another great thing to add to your taco. But all right, so I'm going to start preparing here. I'll come back in a little bit, show you how we cut these things up in rings. All right, so through the magic of TV, the internet, whatever, first, almost all the peppers are chopped up. I have just the tops in this bowl. Give those to the, to the compost pile. And any seeds that are laying around, those won't go to waste either. They'll go to the chickens. It's interesting to me, the chickens don't seem to mind seeds at all of hot peppers. You'd think that it would still be hot, you know. Maybe they don't have the taste receptors for it. I don't know. But yeah, so those won't even go to waste. So what we do is we just chop the top off of the pepper. I will say these green ones are really nice. They have a nice thick wall. You can hear that crunch. And yeah, these are going to be real nice jalapeno slices. So just keep putting those in, and we're just chopping these up. One other thing I will mention is that I don't know if maybe the jalapenos, the yellow ones at least, get hotter as they sit out there on the vine or on the plant. But the first ones I tried were not super hot. This batch here, I've tried 2 bites of these yellow ones, just raw ones. You know, I'll take a bite as I'm cutting them up here, and they are significantly hotter than they were previously, which is good. I'm fine with that. But just so you're aware, if you grow this variety, they do seem to be somewhat varied in their heat level, which is surprising for a hybrid, right? Because isn't a hybrid supposed to be, you know, consistent? I don't know. But there you go. So we got 4 pounds of peppers chopped up. Got them in nice, consistent rings. So, you know, ready to move on to the next step. And the next step is going to be to put together the ingredients for the sauce, basically, that we cook these in, the brine. And then we'll put the peppers in there. We'll cook them in. I'll walk you through that here in a minute. All right, so we got the kitchen cleaned up a little bit. Put the cutting board away, cleaned off the countertop, put the seeds in a little jar so I can give them to the chickens later. And now it's time to start making the sauce. So the sauce that we're going to use, like I said, is a candied pickling brine. So the first thing we're going to start out with is the sugar. We're going to use 8 cups for my 4 pounds. I will put a link to the recipe that I'm using in the description down below so that you guys can, reference this and modify it accordingly for however much jalapenos you end up having. So we're going to do 8 cups here though. So measure this out. All right, that's 8. So we got 8 cups of sugar in here. Lid back on the sugar and set it off to the side. So we're done with that for now. The next item that we'll be putting in here is some vinegar, and we need 2 2/3 cups of apple cider vinegar. So we do make our own apple cider vinegar. Every fall you can make your own apple cider vinegar out of apple cores and peels. If you have some apples that you go apple picking, or if you make pie or whatever, you can look up how to do that. It's pretty easy. But don't ever use that homemade cider vinegar to do stuff like this. You can't guarantee the acid content of homemade apple cider vinegar. At least I don't know of a way, not a reliable way. Whereas everything that you buy in the store, whether it's this brand or even like the Heinz version or whatever, right? You're gonna look on it and it'll always say 5% acid. It's important that you always use something that is properly acidified. You want to make sure that you have the proper acidity to store these long-term on the shelf, and the acidity in the vinegar is what gives you that. So just make sure you don't use your homemade vinegar. Now look, if you want to try some stuff, you go right ahead. I just would caution against it. So I would say don't. But we need 2 2/3 cups of this, so we'll just pour this in here. Okay, so we got 2 2/3 cups of apple cider vinegar. We got our sugar. The next thing we're going to need is some turmeric, celery salt, and granulated garlic. So turmeric we got here. Forget how much we need. We need 2/3 of a teaspoon. So I just have a teaspoon. I just won't fill it all the way. Turmeric's mostly for color. See that bright orange color. Turmeric. Celery seeds. How much of this do we need? Same thing, 2/3 of a teaspoon. So we'll go ahead and grab a little less than a teaspoon. Throw that in there. And then garlic. We need 4 teaspoons. So this is a tablespoon and a teaspoon. So I'm going to probably do that because it'll just be faster. So 1 tablespoon here. Hopefully it'll fit. It does. So remember, 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon. So if you need 4 teaspoons, you can get a tablespoon and a teaspoon. Okay, so the other thing that it calls for is cayenne pepper. Feel free to leave this out if you really don't want this to be too spicy. Like I said, we don't mind spice, so we'll be putting it in, but if you don't want the spice, you can, by all means, just leave this out. It calls for a teaspoon, so we'll just go ahead and drop that in there. So this is going to be pretty hot already, but this adds a little bit extra heat. It also adds a little depth of flavor, right? So okay, so now that we've got all the ingredients in here, we've got the cayenne pepper, the garlic, the celery, the turmeric, the sugar, and the vinegar. The instructions, once again, I will put a link to these instructions in the description below so that you can follow along if you ever want to make your own. But you're basically going to put all these together, bring it to a boil. You're going to reduce the heat. You're going to simmer it for 5 minutes. You're going to then bring it back up to a boil, chuck the peppers in, let it come up to a nice hard boil, reduce it, and then simmer it for 4 minutes, and then it's ready for packing. So one thing that I didn't show on the video here is that I have my water vat boiling over here on the stove while it's getting ready to boil. And I have my jars already. So the wife is terrific about preparation for stuff like this. And she goes ahead and she sterilizes everything and then wraps them in towels and puts them in the closet so that they're upside down, wrapped in towels, nice and clean, ready to go. So we don't need to do anything with these. They should be ready. Got 2 boxes of them ready over there. Got the lids set to the side. So I think I'm all set to get going here. Okay, so I got you guys up on the mobile camera now. So I just wanted to show you kind of what this looks like when we start. You can see that the sugar is really thick in here. There's not, a good mix really going on. It definitely hasn't integrated and dissolved yet. So basically you're just going to cook this until this gets dissolved, right? That's really the goal here, is to dissolve all the sugar and then get this up to a boil. All right, so you can see that this has definitely thinned out. There's no more sugar visible. It hasn't boiled yet, but it's getting there. So what we're just doing is just keep on stirring this for, you know, a few more minutes until it starts boiling. And then once it starts boiling, we'll just do exactly what the instructions tell us to do, which is to let it boil for a while, turn it down to a simmer, let it simmer for a while, and then bring it back up to a boil and put the peppers in. So that's just what we're going to do. These recipes oftentimes take a little bit of time, but they usually are well worth it once you get the finalized product. Okay, so this came to a boil. We had it up. It boils when it gets going. You got to really keep an eye on it because the boil it fills up the pot. So it's gone down to a simmer again. I've had it on simmer for 5 minutes. So now it's time to add the peppers. The way that you're supposed to do this is to bring it back to a boil, drop the peppers in, and then bring it back to the boil again, because of course the peppers are going to cool it down. So I've got it pretty much at a boil right now. So we're going to take the spoon out for a second here. Take these peppers. So you have this big bowl, and you're just going to kind of put them in there. You got to be careful. You don't want to splash yourself with this at all. This is super, super hot. So just be careful when you're pouring them in. Once you get them in there, get it started, and you kind of cover up the liquid, then you can pour them a little faster. But as always in this kitchen, when you're dealing with boiling hot stuff, just be careful. Don't burn yourself. You'll notice that this pretty much is going to fill this pot right up. So do that. Now I can take this glove off. Just really don't want to get hot pepper oil all over me. And then we're just going to kind of mix this. We'll turn the heat back up to get it to go back to boiling again, and just mix it all together. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like in here. So yeah, so that's what it kind of looks like. The liquid is right there. The liquid is not low. Once this starts boiling, these peppers will shrink down a teeny little bit, and you'll end up with a good amount of liquid. But yeah, you can see the liquid right there. The liquid's still kind of high. So yeah, we're just gonna mix this and mix it and mix it until it comes back to a boil, because of course these peppers have cooled this liquid down significantly. Now, one thing to note here is that this is gonna let off some pepper steam into the house. So if you have any kids or people that are sensitive to that, even yourself, maybe you start coughing or whatever, this can make your eyes water up a little bit. You might want to open a window, turn on a fan, something like that, to move this air around. These will definitely release some of those heated oils into the air, and if you're breathing them, if you're sensitive to that, it can give you some trouble. I don't think it's, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think it would be anything that would be like life-threatening or anything, but it could make you uncomfortable. Maybe if somebody has asthma or something like that, it might bother them and give them an asthma attack or something. I'm not sure. Just something to keep cognizant of, that this will make the house smell like hot peppers. You are cooking a pot full of hot peppers, so that steam is going to come off and it's going to give some oils. Okay, so these have been cooking for a couple of minutes. We're still not at a boil yet, but just figured I would show you kind of what it's going to look like in here. So let's bring this camera around. Sorry, trying to get the camera straight for you. You can see that the peppers start to change a little bit of color. They get a little duller, just like you would see if you bought pickled peppers in the store. They also shrink down a little bit. They start to let out some of their liquid, and it mixes with the liquid in the pot. So they'll sink down into the liquid a little more. So we will end up with a lot more of the brine that's available than when we started. You can also see there's a bunch of seeds in here. Some people take the pepper seeds out before they make this. I personally feel like that's a ton of work, so I don't bother. It would make it a lot less spicy though. So if you wanted a less spicy version of this, you could totally pull all the seeds out of the peppers before you started cooking them. Okay, so we have about a minute and a half to go. I've got everything ready. The next step that we're going to do here is a little different than if you were making jam, right? What this recipe calls for is for us to use a slotted spoon, so with holes in it, and then take the slotted spoon, scoop the peppers out, put them in the jars, and then boil the sauce or the syrup for 6 minutes on a hard rolling boil. I'm guessing that's to thicken the sauce and to bring it closer to like a jelly stage, maybe, I don't know. Just bring it really, probably just to reduce it a bit. But then once we're done with that, we'll take the ladle and we'll ladle the sauce on top of the peppers. The recipe does mention that if you have leftover sauce, that you can save it and use it for brushing on meat, or putting it in salad dressings, or putting it on like a potato salad or something. I would definitely recommend that, because basically you've got all this wonderful flavor from the peppers in here, and you have a good amount of sugar, which those are going to be things that are going to be nice if you're barbecuing some meat or something. It would be pretty good to have that. So we're just about there. We've got 9 seconds left, so I'm just going to cancel this on the timer so it doesn't beep on the recording here. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to turn the heat down a teeny little bit, because I don't want it boiling up in my face. And what you do is you just kind of scoop the peppers out, and you scoop them down until you fill the jar. So push them down in there, and that should be pretty good. So that's the first jar filled. So basically I'm getting about a scoop or a spoonful per jar. Just push them down in there, set them off to the next one. So it looks like I'm going to have just enough jar space for all of the peppers that I made, which is pretty good. That's pretty lucky. Doesn't always work out that way, but we might end up with, I don't know, a quarter of a jar extra, so nothing really to worry about. I can probably spread it across some of these other jars at some point here, but yeah, very, very, very small amount of leftovers. So now the next step, as I was saying, the recipe calls for me to go ahead and kick up the heat on this and let it just boil away for 6 minutes. So we're going to do that. Kick the heat up here and just let it go. Now the house is smelling amazing right now. I wish you guys could smell that. It's a sweet, spicy smell that just smells delicious. I can't really describe it any other way than sweet and spicy. But you can smell the heat from the peppers, and you can smell the sugar, which the two of them together are just pretty amazing. There we go. 6 minutes is done. All right, this has been boiling for that entire time. So we're going to turn the heat off now. And we're done with cooking the sauce and the peppers. So now what we got to do, we just have to ladle this until we cover the peppers with the liquid. Basically our goal is to create a pickling liquid that covers the peppers. So take a ladle, pour it in. I'm guessing that it shouldn't take too much to fill them, because the jars do have a ton of peppers in them. Yeah, not a ton. We're going to come back through this in a little bit and poke it with a knife or a chopstick or whatever you have. I'll use a knife. But just you want to basically get any air bubbles out and then refill it if it's necessary, right? And we're looking for, I believe if I remember right, the recipe said a 1/4 inch headspace. So you want these to be pretty full. All right, so everything's filled. Now what we're going to do is take our just damp paper towel. You just want to wipe around the rings. And if there's anything that's too full or not full enough, this is the time where you probably want to go ahead and either take some liquid out or put some more liquid in, do what you want to do. I tend to, just kind of eyeball it. I know you can buy like little tools that have the exact measurements on there. I've never had one of those, and we've never had any problems. I don't know that it's strictly necessary to have one of those, but you kind of can know what a 1/4 inch looks like or a 1/2 inch looks like. So that's what we do. Do whatever you're comfortable with, though. You really want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're comfortable with it, right? And that you don't get yourself sick. So, okay, so everything's clean. I'm going to grab a butter knife real fast. So as I said, you can use a chopstick or a butter knife or whatever you want. Just stick something in there to make sure that there's no bubbles that need to come out. Just make sure everything's settled down all the way. If you have a big pocket of air down there and it comes up, you know, it could change the height of the liquid in your jar and make it so that you don't get a good seal. You don't want that. So the next thing you want to do, put your lid on. Now that it's clean, take the lid, get your screw top. This is where it is. It's hot, right? So you can grab yourself a towel if you have one. And then you want to give this a good tight connection on there. You don't want to screw it so tight that, you know, it's crazy tight. You don't want it to be crazy tight. You just want it to be firm, right? So don't squeeze it with all your might, but get a good, nice, tight grip on there and just close it up. Once these are done, we use a jar lifter. So that's this doohickey here. It's got, I don't know if you can make that out very well on the camera, but it's got little rubber grippers. So you can pick the jar up like this, and you can put it into the boiling water. You don't want to do this with your bare hands. You will burn yourself. So go ahead and pick these up, and then we'll just keep doing that until we get all of these in there, and then we'll kick that boil up and start our timer. Okay, so all the jars have been placed into the double boiler here, or into the hot water bath here. So I'm going to kick this all the way up to high. I'm just going to drop the jars down into the water. You want the jars fully submerged. So let's see if we can't get you to be able to see what that looks like here. So here we are, fully submerged in the water. The lid's going to get put on now. So basically all we're going to do is we are going to let that sit for as long as it takes until this boils. Once it boils, we'll then start our timer, and we're going to let these go for, I believe the recipe said 15 minutes. It's either 10 or 15 minutes, I'll have to look. But whatever the recipe says, we'll let that boil for that long, and then we'll take them out. Once they're done, we'll take them out, we'll set them down on this towel again, and we'll let them cool. They'll cool for a day. Once they're cooled for a day, we'll put them up on a shelf. Got everything taken out of the pot. The pot is now empty. See, there's no jars back in there. I just got it down cooling. We ended up getting all these jars made up. They look pretty good. Peppers are looking nice in there. The mix of green and yellow is very nice, I think. Maybe some point we'll get some red ones. That would be kind of nice too. I also jarred up the juice that was left, so the sauce. Supposedly this makes a really good marinade. I think I'll try it on some chicken. We'll barbecue some chicken with it. These are not, shelf stable. They'll have to go in the fridge. I just have them cooling down a little bit for right now. But yeah, we got a good amount of those. We're gonna let these sit here for a day, maybe 2 days. Sometime tomorrow or Tuesday, because today's Sunday, we'll come through. We'll unscrew the rings, clean off the tops, make sure there's none that didn't get a good seal, and then we'll just put them away. I will say I ate 2 of these. They are quite spicy, so we'll definitely want to be eating those on something, like on the burger or on a taco or something else, but by themselves, quite spicy. Delicious, but spicy. So okay, so that's how, I don't know if you could just hear that, but that's one of them sealing. They make a popping noise. But yeah, so that's how we made our Cowboy candy. The way that these pepper plants are producing, I expect that I'll probably be making another batch at some point this year. If not Cowboy candy, then just regular pickled jalapenos. Either way, this is a great way to store and preserve your jalapenos so that they don't go bad, especially when you have a lot of fresh ones. So, this was a quick, easy use of 4 pounds of jalapenos that I otherwise wouldn't be able to eat just by themselves. Maybe we can make some jalapeno poppers or something like that. But this is great because we'll have these jalapenos well into next year now. And, as we make burgers or tacos or, like I said, anything that really you would want to put pickle on, you can put these on your food and then enjoy them throughout the year. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate you taking the time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think you might know somebody that would enjoy watching this video, please give it a share. Subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notifications when we post new videos. You can also click that bell, and the bell will make sure that when you log into YouTube, you'll get a little pop-up that tells you, hey, Midlife Harvest has released a new video. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We enjoyed showing you how to make this, and hope you guys have a good day.